The easiest way for everybody is to go through the mail. And if that's the case, the deadline is October 16 for this upcoming election. All items on the card are required, or it may be rejected. The first two questions here, are you a citizen and are you going to be 18 on the day of the election, need to be yes, because if they're no, you might as well just throw it in the trash yourself. Okay, because it says right here, if you check no in response to either of these questions, do not complete this form. If you're going to be 18 on November 6, 2018, you're good to go. We want to make sure we fill at least one of these, and I would recommend you pick Democratic. The only way you're going to catch Susan Collins' attention is to increase the Democratic rolls. Even though you plan to vote Republican, you can register as a Democrat. Okay, last name, first name, middle name. Obviously, you want to put the name that matches your driver's license on election day. Date of birth, again, very important. Ideally, you put an address that is on your driver's license. If you're a high school graduate, you probably have the option of keeping your main driver's license, trying to get a driver's license in the state where your university or college is. And I would recommend that you keep your current driver's license. As soon as you register for a different driver's license in a different state, you'll probably get purged out of the rolls of Maine. Yes, no, have you previously been registered to vote? Answer accordingly if you have. Maine, unfortunately, doesn't have a way for you to verify online if you're a registered voter, but there may be other states where you were previously registered that you might want to check online to see and just verify that you have the right city, town, county, and state. Telephone, you want to leave blank because it becomes public information. If you use the maiden name, you might want to put it here. Now, of course, very important, you have to sign and date this card. And on this line, I would also make sure it's not blank. So it requests that you fill this out either with the number on your driver's license, on your ID, or your social, last four. Properly completed application must be received by the date. If not, you have to go in person to do this. And if you are a new Maine voter, you need to also include a photocopy. Here are some of the events that would cause your voter rolls or your voter registration to be purged. Death, mental illness. If you fill out a U.S. Postal Service address change form, if you apply or get a driver's license in a different state, or if they get returned mail from the address they sent you mail to. So those are spot purge events, and this is per their own procedures on voter list maintenance procedures. They do mass purge events every 5 years or less. Looks like maybe every 2 years is more common. They'll do some first class mass mailings and see what returns and investigate from there. They might also just do a selected group of people who didn't vote in the last election. Other events that should not prevent you from voting is marriage, criminal conviction, failure to vote, or if you moved within the municipality, you should still be able to vote. There is no way to check your status, your registration status online. There is a way to request an absentee ballot online if you want, and this is kind of a screenshot of that. So if you are at a university far away or if you're traveling abroad, you can still get an absentee ballot and vote. The last day to request an absentee ballot is November 1st. Maine. This is the population pyramid for Maine in 2010. Usually democracy means majority rules, and it means the values of the majority is going to be applied to the rest of the population. Majority rule. If you look at the population pyramid for the United States, it starts from age 0 to age 85, right? So 0 to 4 it shows you how many males you have in that population and how many females in that population. You usually have an equal number of females and males at every age group, except when you get on the older side. So, for example, from 70 to 74, you can start seeing that there's more women than men through. And usually the baby boomers, and you can really see it in the main population, they're the fat piece in the line. The Gen X's usually are a little bit less than the baby boomers, but not by a lot. And then the millennials are going to be bigger than the baby boomers. And you can even see in this US chart that they are already bigger. The millennials are bigger than the baby boomers. But not a lot of them are of age yet to vote. So once this last sort of the 10 to 14-year-olds as of 2015, as they get to voting age, that last group, they will be bigger than the baby boomers. Every generation has their own values. And if you look at the silent generation, this is the one before the baby boomers. They're the generation that existed or grew up before a lot of the equality revolutions happened. So it happened before the sexual revolution, before the women started burning bras, before we had Brown v. Board, before we decided the races were going to be equal. So the silent generation grew up in a time where Rosa Parks sitting in the back of the bus, that was a normal thing. That was right. That was the right thing to do, is to put Rosa Parks in the back of the bus. And that was a fact. That's what it was back then. And that's a value system to treat. I mean, for them, it was unfair to put Rosa Parks in the front of the bus. That was unfair. Okay? That was not fair. So if you look at the people from that generation, that's sort of their mantra. That's their value system. That's their fairness system. So we have quite a few people that are part of the silent generation in Congress, which includes McConnell, Grassley, Orrin Hatch, and our President Trump. And the piece about MAGA is basically to make America back to where it was when Trump, Trump's generation, the silent generation. This is meaning that Rosa Parks sits in the back of the bus. They never really, bought into all this other stuff that happened afterwards, right? They really didn't. Susan Collins actually is a baby boomer. You may accept the generational values of the previous generation, of your parents. So if you're a baby boomer, you might have revolted against your parents and say, I'm not going to be like you. Or you could have said, you could have embraced the generation of you. You could have said, yeah, I embrace you and I embrace all those values. And unfortunately, Susan Collins appears to be falling into that silent generation values. And that's the reason why she really needs to go. Millennial generation, I mean, black president, right, is normal. I mean, they grew up with that. That's within their fabric of their life. Within 100 years, or let's say 4 generations, how things have changed from Rosa Parks sits in the back of the bus to Barack Obama. Huge change. McConnell, back in the day when, Rosa Parks sits in the back of the bus, and what does he see coming his way? A black president. Oh my God. So you can tell that this was never going to work. McConnell was never going to play nice. About party affiliation, I know I talked about this a little bit. You have to be very careful when you change it. There's waiting periods. There's a 15-day waiting period before you change the enrollment. If you just change, you got to be in a party for 3 months before you can change or withdraw again. So you have to be careful. There's some waiting periods. You can't just change anytime you want. This registration is not available online. You can't do it online for Maine. I would recommend you register as a Democrat to get Susan's attention. You can still vote for a Republican when the election comes around. So just to reiterate, the game day, the off the couch, what are we going to do? What are we doing? Okay, it's time for us to be heard. We're not going to just sit nice and pretty, wait for somebody else to save us. We're going to go do it ourselves. We're going to go increase the Democrat registered voter rolls in the next 10 days by huge amounts. And hopefully, this will be a warning sign for Susan. I'm all for protesting, but if you have energy to spare, go on, go get some people registered. Go get your teammates registered. I mean, that speaks louder than any protest. You want to encourage turnout in 2018, this coming election in November. We're coming out in force now. We're going to be a pretty good army by the time 2020 comes around. Of course, when you go vote, make sure you load up the car with people you know that can go vote with you. Encourage Democrats to vote Democrat. The last thing we need is for Susan Collins to get a lot of Democratic votes when there would be a much better candidate to reflect our values in Congress. And of course, share this video with all your friends. When November 6th comes around and you're wondering, do I want to go vote? Or do I want to just stay home? Do I just want to watch this rerun? Or am I going to go out there and make a difference? Well, all you have to do is remember Collins' speech about Kavanaugh, and hopefully that will be enough for you to decide, guess what? I'm going to go vote. This postscript, which really warmed my heart. Another way voters attempted to catch Susan Collins' attention was by setting up a crowdfund against her. It is up to $3.5 million by 34,000 donors, and is within 93% of its goal of $4 million. This really shows there's a very good chance Susan Collins will be gone in 2020. Let's get the voter registrations up by that same amount, up 34,000, and we'll also send her a message.